Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to the NCGIS conference. This session is on moving from pen and paper to mobile mapping solutions. It's going to be presented by Sean Bloom with the Catawba Lands Conservancy. My name is Elizabeth Daniel, and before we get started with the actual presentation, I just want to cover a couple of housekeeping items. We will have the chat open on Attendee Hub for you to be sending questions during the presentation. At the end of the presentation, we're saving about 5 minutes where we'll be able to, I'll relay those questions to Sean. This session will be ending at 10:25 so that we have enough time to make it to our 10:30 session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean. Welcome, Sean.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. My name, I'm the biologist and GIS director for Catawba Lands Conservancy in Carolina Thread Trail. I've worked here for coming up on 10 years now, and this is what I've been doing for those last 10 years. And I'm very happy to be here to present and share what Catawba Lands Conservancy has been doing to move from pen and paper to more mobile mapping. So the moment I knew that Catawba Lands Conservancy needed to change was when I lost about a month, maybe 2 months worth of field data. One of our GPS units somehow got corrupted, and all of the data and trail alignments and photo points and monitoring tracks that I had collected, all that data was gone. An entire month of work had to be made up, or we just had to accept that it was lost forever. And that's when Catawba Lands Conservancy started down this road to move towards mobile mapping tools. And another reason why we made this change is that when I did get data back from the field, it usually looked like this. And it included a dozen or so separate field sheets or hand scribbled notes. And sometimes those were nice, crisp pieces of paper, but mostly they were wrinkled, mud stained. And if I was lucky, the handwriting was legible. And that's just with my field notes. I would get similar data and notes from 3 to 5 other staff members in our office. And even better, we were only using 2 GPS units. So 5 of us, 2 units. So not only did I have to collect and organize the field notes that came back, then I had to match those notes with the right GPS unit and the right data that was collected on those units. And for many years, as you can see in this photo, this was our data collection method. We would have with us our GPS unit, a digital camera, paper maps, and a field notebook and field sheets. And we have our smartphones with us. Then when we returned to the office, I would use DNR GPS to convert the GPX files to a shapefile, import those shapefiles into ArcGIS. Then I would have to transcribe our field notes into the attributes table with those features that we collected. Then I would export out the data to a KML file to upload into Google Earth or onto our online Carolina Thread Trail map website. And I'll discuss that a little bit later. So obviously this was not the most efficient workflow. And despite my best efforts with the transcription, I was error prone and errors would get into our data. Also, there was only a few people in the office who knew how to prepare the GPS units for the field and download the data. So I spent a lot of time prepping these GPS units for the field and then downloading the data once they were done. So as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, I'm with Catawba Lands Conservancy. We are a local land trust. We are the Charlotte region's local land conservation organization. And we're also the lead agency for the Carolina Thread Trail. And since 1996, we've protected over 17,000 acres for our region's water quality, wildlife habitat, protecting our farming heritage, and providing public access to nature as a lead agency for the Carolina Thread Trail. And a little bit of background, the Carolina Thread Trail is a 15-county initiative to develop 1,600 miles of greenways, nature trails, hiking trails, that connect about 150,000 acres of protected natural space. As part of that effort, Catawba Lands Conservancy owns and maintains 8 public access trails. Our conserved properties also support 5 additional public trails that are maintained by local municipalities. So having the ability to easily and accurately document trail alignments, trail maintenance issues, and boundaries of our protected natural areas is crucial to our work. Additionally, as an accredited land trust, we are required to visit all 203 protected properties at least once a year and document conditions on the property to ensure they adhere to the restrictions of uses. So I'm going to talk now, I set up what the problem is. I'm going to describe how we actually made this change. First of all, with our previous method, there was no backup. And the system we used, even though there was no backup, the system that we did use was generally reliable and everyone knew the process. Our staff felt comfortable because even though they could not upload and download data, they did know how to collect the data with the GPS units. Field forms, pen and paper, field notebooks, everyone was familiar with this. And so staying the course for the field staff and the end users was easy because it was predictable. But as I said earlier, it came with a high cost when things didn't work right or didn't work the way they should. Another big obstacle was my desire to maintain control and data integrity. And this is the one I was most guilty of. For nearly 8 years, I was the sole GIS analyst on staff. And so I knew where the data was. I knew how features were to be attributed. I knew how to do things the right way. Despite the errors in transcribing, I really feared having 2, 3, 4 more people mucking around in our GIS. But like this bull rider here, I really wanted to hold on to the reins as long as I could because it was my job to subdue this beast that was our GIS. And what I failed to realize at the time was just like the clowns here, they're there to help me. And if I would just let go and let them do their job, then this bull here settles down and can actually be managed. And the last big obstacle was it's just hard to make changes, period. Moving towards ArcGIS Online was another step closer to migrating to ArcGIS Pro, which is better integrated into AGOL. However, I've been using Esri products since ArcGIS 8.1 was cutting edge. And my first interaction with Esri was with ArcView 3.1. So transitioning from a suite that I've used for 20 years to a new software product is just hard. But we recently hired someone new whose only experience in GIS was with ArcGIS Pro. So I know the time is coming and we are making the move. In fact, we will begin migrating much of our data out of shapefiles and into a consolidated geodatabase and also onto ArcGIS Online in the coming months. And the biggest benefit I see of this is the storage of all of our data to AGOL is the ability to access that data from anywhere. I don't have to be just in the office with our server. I can more easily work from home and work out in the field. It's going to streamline things for us and make it easier for everyone to work. But changes like this do not take place overnight. And just like my daughter here, we have to take some small steps before we learn how to run. And so we started with a free app for our smartphones called PDF Maps, or it's a Avenza. And we paired that with SharePoint to store all of our PDF maps. And then we started playing with simple story maps to ease ourselves into ArcGIS Online. And now we're developing some AGOL Online tools on Survey123 and with FieldMaps. And like I said earlier, our next step is a full migration to ArcGIS Pro with a hybrid server AGOL data storage. So for those of you who are just maybe starting the first steps, we found Avenza was a really easy app to use, and it was great for simple wayfinding. You can collect data with Avenza, but offloading that data is not intuitive, and it can be a little clunky. But in a pinch, it works great, and it's free. And as I said earlier, it's just great for simple wayfinding. The one limitation with the app is that you're only allowed to store 3 maps at a time. And the way we got around that was to share all of our PDF maps to SharePoint. That way we could upload and upload those maps into Avenza as needed. So I'll go ahead. These next few slides, we'll move over to my browser, and I'll show you some of the tools that we're using now. But first, I can't pull up FieldMaps because I'm not going to try to disconnect multiple monitors on everyone this morning. But we're finding that FieldMaps, which is the new version of Collector, is extremely easy to use. And nice thing is it can be used with a field tablet or a smartphone. And to help me get over my fear of losing control, it's really easy to set up domains and specify attributes so that, for instance, I may have something attributed in our trails data set as NatCov, which is just natural or natural surface trails. That doesn't mean anything to someone in the field, but I can set it up so that when you have a pull-down menu, it says natural surface trails, they can select that, but it gets attributed as nat surface. What this does require, though, is a little bit more effort on the front end, but it means a whole lot less work for me on the back end. We've paired Collector with Survey123, and I can't say enough about this product here. It's web-based. It's a web-based survey. And one nice thing for us, we have a lot of volunteers who go walk our trails, report back issues to us. And in the past, they would send us emails, they would send us pictures, text messages, or they might use a SurveyMonkey form that we had. But we had to pay monthly for that SurveyMonkey form. By switching over to Survey123, we were able to completely do away with SurveyMonkey. And right off the bat, we saved $1,000 a year because we're no longer paying for SurveyMonkey services. And let me show you here a couple of the surveys that we have out now. Okay. I'm gonna have to look away from the computer here now, or sorry, from the camera. So this is our trail issue tool, and our trail volunteers who are often out walking our trails and reporting back issues, they have this link now. They don't need to have the Survey123 app. They can just do it from their browser on their phone. And it's a really simple form. It's your name, what trail are you on, the date of the report, which is defaulted to the day that they're submitting the report. It will use the GPS that's native to their phone to locate where they're at. They can select what the issue is, whether it's a safety concern so that we know to prioritize that report. And then they can upload photos. And when they do this, our trail staff gets an email with all this information and also goes onto our trail issues dashboard, which we'll look at in a little bit. I also want to show our conservation easement monitoring form. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got 203 conserved properties that we have to monitor annually. And in the past, what we'd have to do is we'd do our work, fill out a form, or just take some notes in our field notebooks, come back to the office, and then fill out our annual monitoring reports. Print them off, sign them, scan them, and then upload them onto our server. With the conservation easement monitoring form now, I can prepare my report in the field, sign it, and it's automatically uploaded into the cloud and saved. So I don't have to worry about losing my data, losing my field sheets, or having to come back into the office, especially with COVID and us not being in the office as often. I don't have to worry about coming in, printing off the reports, signing them, then scanning them. So we're collecting all the same information as we were before. Monitor's name, the methods, property location. And, you know, I don't feel I need to go through everything here. Did we contact the landowner? Yes, no. Did they join us? I do want to skip down here. So one thing I like with these Survey123 forms is if we did notice a condition that would violate the terms of a conservation easement, and if I select yes, then I get some additional options to fill out. But if I don't, then those go away. And then finally, at the end of the report, I can sign for it. And so now instead of coming in, filling the report out, printing, signing, scanning, everything is done at one time. I sit in my car, fill out the report, sign it, hit submit, and I'm done. One of the first things that we did, though, before we got into Survey123 or using Collector was story maps. And I want to show this one real quick. This is our trails less traveled. And this is an incredibly easy story map to use. I believe it's called the tour guide story map. And anyone can learn how to use this. It's really easy to use. All you need to do is have pictures, have your text, and be able to drop a pin on a map. But the nice thing is you can come down here. I've got my map up top. And as I scroll through, I'm learning about the South Fork Rail Trail with some terrific photos. And then I just continue along. Murray's Mill. Come up here a little bit. So we used this for a few months ago. So we are photo heavy on this particular story map. But you can embed links. So if someone was interested to learn more about the South Fork Rail Trail, for instance, they can click the link and it comes to our Carolina Thread Trail online map. We can also embed a link to the Catawba Lands Conservancy so folks can learn more about our organization. And so yeah, with every trail that's listed here, we've embedded a link to our larger Carolina Thread Trail web map. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with our Survey123 form on trail reports, it's important also to be able to visualize what those issues are and where they are. And so we have a dashboard that goes along with that form. So I can come over here, select a trail that I want to get reports on. This top one here is just the standard trail report. So how are the overall conditions of our trail? But then further, I can come down here to this one, to this area, and it provides me information on trail issues. So I can see here at Seven Oaks Preserve Trail, which is down in southeast Gaston County, we found some invasive plants with some untreated kudzu. There's a photo of what the issue looks like. We may also have a damaged structure. So we had, unfortunately, a kiosk got burned down. Let's see what else. So a tree fell last year and it was blocking the trail. We could see that now. And the nice thing is I don't have to worry about a description such as a tree fell somewhere between bridge number 2 and number 3, which doesn't tell me a whole lot as far as the best way to access our trail to get to that issue, because this is a 2.5 mile long trail. And I don't feel like parking at one end and hiking all the way up with my chainsaw and all my gear. So if I know it's near the end of the northern end of the trail, I have another access point I can get to from there. So having this dashboard allows us to see where the issues are, get some good photos about what the issues are. And then once it's completed, I can use the Collector app to update the status. Let's see. So this one here was another, whereas a trail had been created and it's been corrected. So we know that that is no longer an issue. Another dashboard that we use that gets used a lot in our office. A frequent question that I get asked is internally within our office, how many acres have we conserved in Lincoln County? How many properties are protected? How many properties do we own? How many properties do we protect fee simple? And so I've prepared this dashboard for our office, and they are able to select by county, Gaston County. And it tells us, you know, we've got almost 4,700 acres protected in Gaston County. They can see by encumbrance. So about 1,800 acres of that is fee simple ownership. And then another 2,700 is by conservation easement. We can zoom in and get some additional details. When was the property protected? How many acres? What type of encumbrance is on it? Is it a standard conservation easement or is it a deed restriction? All of this data originally resided just in ArcGIS. And so someone had to come to me and I have to pull it up on ArcGIS. Now anybody can get to this data in the office. They can find out if we've got any protected species out there. And then, so this is great for internal, but you know, we want to be able to share with people what is Catawba Lands Conservancy doing. And so we've now got a public map as well. And I should add, these story maps, the dashboards, they are all built on 2 feature classes. One of them is our protected properties features set, and the other one is our Carolina Thread Trail feature set. So we have one file that we have to maintain, and then there are feature layers created from that, which we're able to limit how much information the public is able to see. So it's nice that I only have to update one feature set, and everything is updated. Our web maps are updated, our story maps are updated, all of our web app tools are updated because I've made the change to one file, which really simplifies a lot of matters for us. It makes it simple, it keeps things accurate, and it's extremely efficient. So with our public story map, we do have it limited so that people can only zoom into a certain level because of privacy concerns with some of our private landowners. But when someone does click on a property, they can find out, you know, the name of it, how many acres, and what is it protecting? It's for habitat, water quality, and protected species. On the internal database, we can see what the protected species are. Here in what we call red layer, we've got Schweinetz's sunflower and big leaf magnolia.
Hey, Sean?
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but we do have a couple of questions through the chat. And we're
Okay.
So give you maybe 30 seconds to kind of wrap up if you have anything else that you want to cover.
This was the last thing to show. And I feel like I've showed it. So yeah, I'm happy to take some questions.
All right, that's great. So we will start. Our first question is from Hannah Williams.
Sorry, Elizabeth, I lost you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Our first question is from Hannah Williams. And her question is, for your public-facing apps, do you see heavy usage/activity? What has improved the usage over time? For example, social media, communicating on websites, etc.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was one of the questions asked by our marketing staff. And I really appreciate that Esri has the tools in the background where it actually tracks usage. And yes, we have seen a large increase in interaction with the public through our story map. At the end of the year, we did a year-end wrap-up story map. And the click rate from our emails was one of the highest click rates we've had for our end-of-year appeals and end-of-year wrap-ups. So yes, absolutely. The public loves story maps because it's visually engaging, it's interactive, it's not just reading text and seeing a picture. It's great for social media because it's easy to put out on Facebook and Instagram. And even better, you can integrate it into a website. So you can take your story map and host it on your website so it maintains branding as well.
Right, Sean, and unfortunately, we do have a couple more questions, but we are out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there, do you have contact information that I could send through the chat, or do you have a slide with your contact information? So
that is the one slide I did not prepare.
Okay.
Yes, folks can reach me, Sean, SEAN, at catabalands.org.
All right, great. I'm typing that in. I want to thank everybody for coming. Our next session is starting at 10:30, so you should have at least about 4 or 3 minutes to transfer. And Sean, we want to thank you. That was definitely a very engaging conversation, and I actually have some questions for you as well that I'm going to be sending. So, all right.
Okay. Yeah, and I am so sorry that I ran out of time on everyone.
No, it was there was a lot of good information. It's hard to get that all in there. All right, okay. I'm sending the and if you could just again confirm your email for me before I send.
Sure, it's Sean, SEAN.
And can you spell Catawba for me?
Sure, it's CATAWBA, lands with an S.org.
Everyone, I'm sending now. So thank you, Sean, and I am ending.